Are you seeing this viral K-pop edit? Yeah, I made AI do that. And in this video, I'm going to show you 10% of how. Yep, only 10%. So you want to stick around for the entire video. Roll my intro.
I love it when you do it like that, when you walk out wearing nothing but. I love it when we do it like that, you know that I'm right there, want you to. You make it look so easy like that, then you try out my attention like.
Annyeonghaseyo, Daebak fam. Welcome back to Daebak Reacts TV, your one-stop shop for all things beats, bars, and of course, big Daebak energy. Back in the studio, and as you can see, something's changed. Yep, I got a new overlay and I decided to test it out and see how it works out. Yes, I did design it myself. There's a story behind that, and I will reveal that story towards the end of the video. Stick around, all right? Well, let's get down to business, shall we? In this episode, I wanted to do a tutorial-ish video on my AI workflow and kind of give you or reveal bits and pieces of how I actually develop my AI animations that you've been probably noticing if you have. If you've noticed in my daily YouTube shorts, I've been playing around with AI. And when I say AI, I mean AI art. I've created mashups of idols and I've put them in different settings like fantasy settings, science fiction settings, a whole different realm of possibilities, right? And I've been exploring all of this with the help of various tools that have been so amazing to me that I've actually named them. Yeah, I've given them pet names. But what I'm trying to get at is I've just been having so much fun. And I really think that there's potential here for creators like myself to really level up our game when it comes to creating content, right, for social media and for platforms like YouTube and various others that are possibly out there. I haven't really dug that deep yet. That being said, I wanted to get down to business and kind of show you my workflow and how I do things. All right, now a couple of disclaimers before we get into the nitty-gritty. Number one, everything that I do is for artistic purposes only. By no means do I claim any rights to any IPs, meaning intellectual properties, or any copyrighted material or anything that is under a certain brand or company. All right, I do not own these assets. I do not own any of them. All I do is just use them as references and create my own content, my own version of stuff, the way I envision them artistically. All right, so take everything with a grain of salt and we'll be good. We'll be kosher. Second thing is everything that I'm showing you is a Coles Notes. I'm not sure if some of you understand what I mean when I say that. Well, basically condensed. All right, everything that I'm showing you right now in this video is going to be condensed, and it's going to be the short version. There is a long version, and I will reveal the long version again towards the end of the video. So you'll want to stick around if you want to get more information on that long version, which is the complete tutorial on everything that I do, right? Step by step, and it'll get you to where you need to get to if you are following my footsteps. All right, that being said, let's get into it. Are you ready? 지금부터 showtime. All right, cool. So I want to start from here, and here, by here, I mean ChatGPT. All right, so as you can see, I've programmed my GPT to call me Domino Ajashi, and yeah, it's just a custom prompt that I've sort of programmed my GPT with, and it gives me the best results for what I do you might want to explore options where you can customize your GPT to get you the results that you need. All right, and it's very easy to do this. I don't want to get into that specifically. I'm pretty sure there's tutorials out there. There's a ton of YouTube videos, and yep, feel free to go and check those out if you need more information. That being said, let's get into some prompting. So the first thing that I usually do with my creations is I come up with a theme, I come up with a concept. So for the purposes of this video, as an example, let's just say I want my idols to be in Harry Potter, right? Let's use Harry Potter for all of you Harry Potter fans out there. Wingardium Leviosa. Let's get some magic going. All right, so what I do is I kind of sketch out what I'm looking for, and then I kind of play with that, right? So I'll say something like, by the way, I call my GPT Hyung. It's just a prompt that I kind of give it, right? A sort of name. Like I said, I name my AI tools. In this case, I call him Hyung because that's the kind of relationship that we have. So I'll say, Hyung, I want to do a set of AI animations using popular K-pop idols and setting them in the world of Harry Potter, right? And I'll say, give me a visual storyboard of how this, I've got Ajushi hands, so my typing sucks. Don't judge. How this can flow. And then I hit enter. And then I let my GPT Hyung do his thing. It takes a couple of seconds. Okay, well, it's giving me two responses that I could choose from. And I'm going to take a look here very quickly. And let's say here. Okay, I think I like response 1. I'm going to go. It's simpler. It's giving me more detail. I like it. So I'm going to choose response 1 all the way down when it's done. So wait for the stop sign to disappear. And I'm going to click, I prefer this response. I'm just going to go up here and quickly go through what the flow is. So it starts with the owl post arrival. And see, it even gives me, like, this is what I love about ChatGPT. It reads natural language, right? So it processes natural language. So it's actually giving you some amazing details that you can use to generate ideas further, right? So in this case, it's giving me a setting. It says nighttime Seoul rooftop. So you notice how it takes the essence of Harry Potter and Harry Potter. I just had to do it, all right? So it takes the essence of Harry Potter and it kind of just infuses it with the Korean setting, right? And I love that. Nighttime Seoul rooftop with neon signs glowing. Visual is each idol in modern fashion receives a glowing envelope via owl. The Hogwarts seal gleams. I love that. Animation style, cinematic pan, dramatic music swell, blah, 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 right? And it's even giving me a soundtrack idea, but in this case, I'm not going to do that because, again, copyright issues. I typically just use the YouTube library that comes with a ton of songs that I can then slap on to my videos, right? So I'm not really concerned about the soundtrack idea for now. Of course, if you're super creative, you're super detailed, there's always a ton of resources out there. I've been playing around with Suno AI, and that AI application is a gem for music creators, musicians, people like songwriters. Anyways, let's get going here. So scene 2, platform 9 3/4, and then it just keeps going and going and going, right? So now I have an idea of how I want to do this. So what I'm going to do next is I want idols. So I need a list of idols that I'm going to be going through, right? So I'm just going to go and say, give me a list of idols that would suit this video concept, right? And then it's going to give me, right, some popular idols that we can take a look at. It's even giving me the houses. So Slytherin, right? And it's categorizing every. So now, if you look at this is amazing because I actually have access to probably 3 or 4 videos already, maybe even 5 videos, and I can split those videos by house, by Hogwarts houses, right? So I can do an entire video on Slytherin. I could do an entire video on Gryffindor, right? Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, right? And maybe down the line, I can even do the teachers, right? I could do, I could do Dumbledore, I could do Snape, and so on and so forth, right? But this is what I love about GPT, is it's very comprehensive, very contextual, and it really slaps, right? So for this example, I'll be using Slytherin. So I'm going to take the first 5 idols. So we've got Taemin from Shiny, and we've got Yeonjun from TXT, Karina, one of my favorites, from aespa, Jenny, of course, the legend, Blackpink, Hyunjin from Stray Kids. Oh, by the way, Stray Kids will be coming to Toronto, so be ready, Toronto. Sunghoon from N-hyphen. So we're going to ignore N-hyphen, sorry. My bad. We're going to ignore Sunghoon for now, okay? And we're going to take the first 5. So I'm going to say, I'm going to copy this, and I'm very quickly going to go, I need full prompts. Or actually, I need full Sora prompts. And I'm going to show you what Sora is for those of you who don't know. Sora is probably the one that I'm going to be using for this example. And I'll tell you why. I need full Sora prompts for the following idols. And I'm going to put these. Let's see what we get. All right, there we go. Ladies, gentlemen, and everybody else in between, we have prompts. And just look at how detailed these prompts are. Look at that. I mean, I can't show you everything, but take a look at this, right? This is amazing. So I'm only going to do one right now, but we'll play around with the others in another video, or you can play around with the others yourself, right? I mean, all you got to do is type in something very similar to what I had, and you'll get pretty much the same results, or if not, similar results. So I'm going to take one of these, and I'm going to hop over to Sora. Oh, by the way, this is one of the images that I had, and I converted into video for one of my recent drops. This is Bang-chan from Stray Kids, and yeah, I mean, if you go to my channel, you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, so we're going to ignore that one for now. And what I'm going to do first, though, is I'm going to need a reference image. So for this, I will go to Pinterest. But before that, I just want to make sure we're looking at Taemin, so from Shiny. So what I'm going to do here is, as you can see, I've got a whole lot of K-pop idols already on my Pinterest. So I'm going to type in Taemin, right, from Shiny, and I'll get a whole bunch of images, which I can now. This is like a treasure trove, right? So I've got maybe 1 or 2. Yeah, I think I already have these 2. I've used Taemin before in one of my videos. So I already have these 2. So I'm going to go back to Sora, and I'm going to load the reference images first. So I'm going to go over to uploads, and I'm going to go say this. As you can see, I've got a whole bunch of idols here. And remember, these are only for reference, okay? By no means are we using these images as they are, right? Because these are copyright protected. So I want to make sure. And of course, if I was in Korea, this would technically fall under illegal category, because deep fakes in Korea are a crime. case you did not know. All right, well, we're not going to get into that. It's just I've been watching a bunch of videos recently about certain incidents in Korea, and let's just say that has me concerned. So I'm going to use I'm going to use these two. I'm going to say use selected media, right? And I'm going to now assist the generation tool with the prompt. So I've got the prompt here, and I'm going to take out the name because sometimes this can trigger a potential policy red flag. So I'm going to take out Taemin, and I'm going to just say cinematic pose of a K-pop idol. And there you go. That's my prompt, right? And I'm just going to hit remix and see what happens. Okay. Now, if I don't like this or whatever it's going to produce, I can edit this. All right. I can edit this. I can do what I want with this, and it's really, really cool. So let that generate. It usually takes a little bit of time, and we're going to wait for that to finish. All right, so we got our images, and look at that, people. Look at that, Daebak fam. Look at how beautiful these images are. I mean, I love them, but at the same time, it's not the look that I'm going for. Why? Because I don't want it to look like a painting. I want it to look a little bit more realistic, give it some depth, give it some nice tones, and give it that sort of 3D rendered look. So all I have to do now is click on one of the images here. I actually like, doesn't that look, I mean, it's a little different. I gotta admit, it's a little different, but I think this one looks a little bit more like Taemin, right? So again, you don't have to go for the exact look. You want to look for similarities in facial features. You could probably get away with that, right? Because again, this is artistic generation. We're not looking for mirror images of the actual idol. We want someone who looks very similar to the idol. Remember, we're taking the idols and we're using them as characters. So I'm going to go with this one here because I just kind of like the facial structure that kind of matches. If you look down here, right, it's got that, he's got a very smooth face, and it kind of rounds off at the bottom, well, into a very dull triangle, right? A very soft triangle, if I may. And that's also happening over here. If you look at the other image, if I go back, this one has a little bit more of a sharpness to it, which I really don't like, and it's not like him. And also, this person looks a little older. We don't want him looking older, so I like this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this image. All I'm going to do is I'm going to say remix, and I'm just going to type something like make it a stylized 3D render. Actually, no, stylized would probably give me an artistic version of it. I'm going to say make it a realistic 3D render. And also what I'm going to do is just to kind of give a little bit more, right, and to add more features, I'm going to choose from library. I'm going to actually go back here, and I'm going to go to the second image that I have. I'm going to say I'm going to add that in just to kind of push the AI to match some similarities with the reference image. I'm going to say make it a realistic 3D render, and use reference image for facial features only, right? Hit enter. Let's see what happens. Let's go back. All right, there we go. And look at that. Daebak fam, would you look at that? We have Taemin from Shiny, and it kind of looks quite similar, don't you think? Look at that. That's exactly what I'm looking for, right? So play around with it, right? See what you get. I mean, I got it in 2 tries in 1 revision, right? And all it took was a little bit of a push, and it gave me that, which is fantastic. So from this point, what I do is I take this image and I will load it with another prompt and feed it into my video generation tool. And for this, I use Kling, and I don't want to get into Kling right now because it's a lot, and there's so many little details and little tweaks and fine tuning that we need to do. But fret not, because I've got all of this covered step by step in my full tutorial, which will be available on Gumroad. And I'm gonna put a link in the description where you can find it. So if you're interested in this kind of stuff, and if you're looking to create stuff using AI, videos, animations, images, for whatever purpose, that's probably going to help you out. And it's very simple, easy to understand, even for the layman. So go ahead and check it out. All right. So before I end the video though, I do want to show you another tool that I use in case I'm not getting the results that I need from Sora. So another tool that I use, I've got it open right here, is ComfyUI. Now, I got to tell you this comes with a warning. ComfyUI is not for everybody, especially for those who hate technicalities, right? Me being I'm going to say it. Me being a nerd, an Ajashi nerd, I love technicalities. I love anything technical. I love details. I love playing around with stuff. And I've been learning how to use ComfyUI because I gotta tell you, there is a steep learning curve, all right? It's not easy to pick up. You gotta play with it. It's trial and error, and it's something that requires a very focused mindset, because if you're not focused, you may miss out on certain connections between modules that you have here, right? Every single one of these things is a module. I don't want to get into details about how to use ComfyUI, but I do want to show you my basic workflow. What I have is I've got a model, and when I say model, I mean as in think of it as a shell or a mold. Imagine you're making cakes, right? Or you're baking muffins. Your muffins need a mold. Well, this model is the mold. All you're doing is feeding it a certain type of mold, right? Like, you know how sometimes you got cookies that are shaped like Winnie the Pooh or the Cookie Monster or whatever, right? And so that's exactly what this is. This gives you the shape, the basic foundation of what you're trying to produce. So I've got a model loaded here, and I can just tell you this. It's aimed at realism, right? Then what I do is I feed it through a bunch of other, I would say, aesthetic models. So these add more features to the final image that I'm going for, the look that I'm going for, right? So I've got a bunch of filters, you could say. These are called, well, for the layman, these would be filters, right? I've got a bunch of filters, and then I've got my negative prompt and I've got my positive prompt. And I've got a reference image. In this case, I've got Yeonjun loaded up from TXT. And then what that does is it takes all that information, processes those signals, and takes it through a sampler, which then generates the image after upscaling the image, right? So this right here is my upscaler, right? So when I say upscaler, you might have heard of softwares like, well, not really softwares, but tools, online tools like Magnific, right? I think Magnific is the rage now. It's the trend. Everybody's on it and trying to use it, but it is expensive. In this case, I'm kind of budget friendly, so I like using this one. I think this one has a little bit more in terms of flexibility and options for me to play with, because I have a bunch of different upscaler models that I can use and tweak to my heart's content. All right, so I use that. So what I do, I'm going to type in a quick prompt just to demo here. I'm going to say a cabin attendant on a luxury private jet standing confidently while posing for the camera I'm going to add a little bit more detail. I'm going to say a Korean male cabin attendant on, actually, male model dressed as a cabin attendant on a luxury private jet, standing confidently while posing for the camera. And I'm going to add a little bit more. I'm going to say cinematic lighting, golden hour, and I'm going to say probably natural dynamic atmospherics, and see what that gives me, right? So, by the way, I forgot to adjust something here. I'm gonna say 0.2 because I do want some similarities between what I have here as a reference image and what I want to go for. Actually, let's go 0.5 just to see what we get here. Instagram hair flow. Yep, I've got all of those lined up, and I'm gonna hit run and see what happens. And there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody else in between, we've got, well, someone very similar to Yeonjun, right? Now, I can play around with this value here just to get a little bit more creative, but essentially, it took the information from the reference image. I created something very similar. You could see the detail with the lighting and with the facial structure and the contours on the skin. And look at that. It's actually pretty awesome, isn't it? So I just want to do another one here. I'm just going to change this to, let's say, 0.7, just see how far we can go with our creative flexibility. And I'll tell you why I use this over here, because it's quite interesting. The thing with ComfyUI is there's the flexibility that comes with it, and it's also the fidelity, right, of the generations. Now, this one's a bit different. I mean, it's given a completely different face. This doesn't look anything like Yeonjun, so I think we need to scale this back down a bit just to kind of get some similarities. Now, let's get back to why I use this. Now, sometimes what happens is Sora might hit you with a notice saying that this content violates some of our policies. And when that happens, there's that frustration that comes along with it, because you're not exactly violating it by deep faking images of real people onto AI creations. You're just using them as a reference to kind of get a similarity to the character that you're referencing, so that you could use that as, you know, art creations that you want to use for other material, right? But again, Sora is, of course, AI, and it's our job to dial it down or change our approach or do whatever to make sure that we're not hitting those violations, right? So what I do with ComfyUI is I take the reference image that I'm using and I'll tweak it using the values here and the prompt that I just gave it to produce a similar character, which of course is different from the original. And I'll then take that image and use that as a reference image in Sora, which will then give me the creations that I need. You see what I'm saying? So it's sort of a bypass to what I want to get at the end. All right, if that makes sense. Use your tools wisely, use them responsibly. I am not responsible for any violations that you come across yourself. So please be careful with how you use these tools. That being said, that's all I've got for you folks. And before we end the video, I do want to talk about my overlay. So the story is, I initially designed this overlay for Twitch because I was going to do some Twitch streaming and gaming. However, I ran into some technical issues with Twitch, and that project is on hold. So I decided to convert the overlay into just a regular overlay that I could use for my YouTube videos. And this is pretty much it, right? So I do hope you like it. leave a comment down below if you like it. If you don't like it, let me know as well, but please be nice. All right. Well, feel free to give me your honest opinion. That's fine. But, of course, make it constructive. All right. I love constructive feedback. So there you have it, folks. I hope that helped. And I do hope that you take your creations to the next level and have fun with them. That's the most important thing, right? Art is a process. Fall in love with the process. Go along with it, and it'll take you to where you need to get to. It's okay to slip up. It's okay to make mistakes. It doesn't matter. Just go with the flow, go with the process, and it'll take you places that you've never been to before. All right? That being said, if you like this video, if you like what I've done in today's episode, go ahead and hit that like button, okay? That's going to motivate me to do more and bring you more amazing Daebak content, okay? It really goes a long way when you hit that like button, all right? And of course, if you find this helpful and you'd like to see more, don't forget to subscribe, turn your notifications on to stay updated, and that's pretty much it. All right? So stay safe, stay Daebak. I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers. Peace.